Welcome back to BikeBeat. Today we've got our hands on something a little different, the 2026 Yamaha AG175. This is Yamaha's new entrant into the lightweight farm, trail, and utility segment, a machine that tries to bridge the gap between a basic commuter and a rugged off-road workhorse. It's aimed at riders who live or work in rural areas, people who need a machine that can handle fields, trails, village roads, and also occasional stretches of tarmac. It's not just a bike for fun, it's meant to be a practical partner for day-to-day use. In this review we'll take a close look at its features, its design, how it rides, and what makes it stand out, along with the projected pricing. The Yamaha AG175 is built around a simple but robust setup. At its heart sits a single-cylinder, 4-stroke, air-cooled engine displacing roughly 175 cubic centimeters. Yamaha has not chased high horsepower figures here. Instead, the engineers tuned it for low-end and mid-range torque. That means the AG175 doesn't scream down highways at 120 or 130 km per hour, but it pulls steadily when you're climbing a slope, carrying some cargo, or threading through uneven terrain at low speed. The engine layout is straightforward, with a simple overhead valve or single overhead cam arrangement, paired with either a carburetor or fuel injection depending on the regional variant. Ignition is handled by a digital CDI unit. In some trims you'll get both kickstart and electric start, making it versatile for cold mornings or remote areas where battery health might be a concern. The gearbox is a 5-speed unit, geared short in first and second to give strong crawling ability, while third and fourth handle general road riding. Fifth works as an overdrive for when you hit longer stretches of tarmac. For most rural riders this setup works very well, letting the bike climb, haul, and cruise without straining the engine too much. Shifts are predictable and the clutch is light and forgiving, exactly what you want when you're spending hours in stop-start conditions or working in fields. Some rumors point to a 6-speed variant in more commuter-friendly markets, but even the 5-speed option feels well matched to the role Yamaha wants this bike to play. The chassis is steel, semi-double cradle, or tubular backbone, chosen for strength and serviceability rather than weight savings. Suspension up front is handled by telescopic forks with around 180 to 200 mm of travel. The rear uses twin shocks with adjustable preload. This setup is rugged, easy to maintain, and capable of handling moderate off-road bumps. It won't feel like a motocross bike leaping over whoops, but it absorbs ruts, potholes, and rocky paths comfortably enough to keep the ride steady. Ground clearance is generous, estimated at around 260 mm, which is more than enough for uneven terrain, small rocks, or field ridges. Wheels and tires are practical dual-purpose setups, usually 18 inches at the front and 17 at the rear, wrapped in semi-knobby tread designed to cope with both paved and unpaved conditions. Braking depends on trim. The base version comes with drum brakes at both ends, while higher trims are expected to carry a front disc. For everyday rural or trail riding, the drums are adequate, though riders carrying heavier loads or venturing onto busier roads will appreciate the stopping power of the disc setup. Visually, the AG175 carries a no-nonsense look. Yamaha didn't try to make it sleek or futuristic. Instead, it's functional and rugged. The fuel tank is modest, around 10 to 12 liters, shaped to allow easy rider movement whether you're sitting or standing on the pegs. The seat is long, flat, and covered with a grippy material that resists slipping and holds up against rain and dirt. The ergonomics are deliberately upright and neutral, giving the rider a commanding position and control in tight spots. Handlebars are wide and slightly raised with a crossbrace for extra strength, while switches and levers are built tough to resist dust and water. The headlight unit is simple, either halogen or LED depending on market, and in some variants comes with a protective grille. Indicators and the tail lamp are rugged and easy to replace if damaged. There are built-in mounting points on the subframe for racks and toolboxes, and Yamaha is expected to offer official accessories like rear carriers, side racks, and engine guards. A skid plate or bash plate may be standard on some trims. The exhaust runs fairly high with a strong heat shield, designed to avoid mud and water splash. Cylinder fins are large for better cooling, keeping the engine happy even during long, slow runs under load. On the road, the AG175 feels steady. From a standstill up to about 40 km per hour, the bike pulls with confidence. That's where most utility riders will spend their time, short bursts, climbs, and loaded rides. It doesn't rocket to high speeds, but it's not supposed to. Between 60 and 80 kilometers per hour it feels smooth enough for semi-highway stretches. Past that, acceleration slows, and vibrations remind you this is not a touring machine. But that trade-off buys you longevity and less strain on the engine. Off-road, the bike is maneuverable thanks to its narrow build and wide handlebars. Standing on the pegs feels natural, and the suspension handles small drops, ruts, and loose gravel well. The tires give adequate grip, though in deep mud you'll still have to work the throttle carefully. The frame and suspension give enough flex to avoid feeling harsh, but it's not a plush ride. Instead, it communicates the terrain to the rider, which is often better when you want control rather than comfort. In practical tasks, the AG175 shines. The mounting options make it useful for carrying feed sacks, crates, or tools. Its low-end torque means you can load it up and still climb or roll without bogging down. It's light enough to maneuver by hand if you need to shift it around in a barn or yard. Maintenance is simple, with air cooling, minimal electronics, and a design that shares many parts with existing Yamaha small bikes. It's easy to keep it running even without advanced workshop tools. In rural areas where spares and mechanics may be scarce, that is a big advantage. Fuel economy is also impressive. Early estimates suggest 30 to 40 kilometers per liter under normal loads, which stretches the small tank surprisingly far. Even with heavier loads or rough terrain, it still outperforms heavier dual sports or utility quads in terms of fuel efficiency. Durability is another strong point. With fewer plastic fairings, a tough steel frame, and simple electrics, there's less that can break. In testing over uneven tracks, low branches, and minor falls, the bike held up without complaint. Yamaha clearly designed it with abuse in mind, expecting it to get scratched, dropped, and worked hard. The matte or semi-matte paint hides small marks, and components like the levers and foot pegs are inexpensive and easy to replace. When it comes to price, Yamaha has not released official global figures, but based on comparable models and leaks, the AG175 is expected to cost between $3,500 and $4,200 in international markets. In South Asian regions like Pakistan, the bike may land around 7 to 1100,000 rupees, depending on import duties, assembly, and trim levels. Variants with electric start, front disc brake, or extra racks will naturally cost a little more. That places it above commuter bikes, but below full adventure or dual sport motorcycles, carving out a niche of its own. Thanks for watching BikeBeat. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Yamaha's latest utility machine, hit that like button, subscribe for more detailed reviews, and let us know in the comments what you think of the AG175. Would you prefer the basic kickstart version, or would you go for the electric start and disc brake trim? And if you live in a rural area, do you see yourself using a bike like this for both work and play? We'll keep following this model as Yamaha rolls out official specs and market versions, and we'll bring you updates as soon as they're available. Ride safe, and we'll see you in the next episode.